Mega projects, the defining prowess of a nation's economy and easily the obsession of a developing economy's leader. In 1998, playwright Huzir Sulaiman directed his first play in the theatre scene with an imagining of what if Malaysia had gone to the extreme of building the penultimate mega project, an atomic bomb. 20 years later, Malaysia found itself once again under the leadership of Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. Thus, we ask Sulaiman about revisiting his stage play titled Atomic Jaya and to talk about its upcoming sequel, Nuclear Family.
Malaysia's gone through a change. Malaysians overseas, like myself, I've lived in Singapore for a number of years, but Malaysians all over the world are looking back at Malaysia and saying, could one come back? Also, the United States has become a far less hospitable environment for, I suppose, in particular, non-whites, right? So I think that I try to imagine what would happen if Dr. Mary Yuen wanted to leave the US and come back to Malaysia to see whether she could make a difference. But of course, with the old Prime Minister being the new Prime Minister, yet again, I think there's an opportunity for a little bit of political satire to look at what would happen if that mania for mega projects recurs.
Mary Yuen. You think you are who? Who you think I am? You think I China man? I can get such funny things.
Atomic Jaya, which premiered in the March of 1998 at the Actors Studio Theatre in Kuala Lumpur, follows that of Dr. Mary Yuen, who returns home after an extensive academic life in the United States when she is then invited to help Malaysia build an atomic bomb. As Malaysia ushered in a new decade, many questions rose as to where Mahathir's Vision 2020 went. As a nation that is still harboring a developing economy, Huzir aims to mix political satire with science comedy once again, as Nuclear Family is set in the horizon of Malaysia today under the leadership of Pakatan Harapan.
It's very much also a commentary on how Malaysians look at change, how Malaysians look at homecoming, very complicated feelings of home and exile, wanting to change, but sometimes being deeply invested in security and stability and comfort. It's a love letter to Malaysia, I call it, in all its complexity and brilliance and disappointment and potential.
Sulaiman himself is a Malaysian who works at Checkpoint Theatre, which he founded in Singapore, where he is also living. As a Malaysian who lives abroad but is close enough to home to see what is happening, he shares with us his vision for what he wants to see in a modern Malaysia.
I'm an only child. My parents are in Malaysia. I think it's something that is never far from my mind. But speaking to the thought of brain drain, when I came back from my education overseas, I deliberately set out to make a difference. And I think with my early plays in the late 90s, early 2000s, some of the people I worked with, some of the scripts that I managed to write, I do think I managed to put some things into motion. I think being in Singapore, I've still kept a very close eye on what's going on. I wrote a column for The Star, so I was very much sort of psychically still paying attention to Malaysia, and I've kind of stayed very much in touch.
Although he observes from a distance, Huzir keeps abreast with Malaysia's politics and development, and with that in mind, we asked him if he ever had the thought of coming home to settle down.
I think while the government or civil society look at structural changes, legal changes, I think the most profound shift that I think needs to occur is a return to individual Malaysians taking responsibility for the consequences of their actions.